Welcome to Espresso Yourself, Mom, Teacher, and Runner Talk, the podcast where lesson plans meet lattes and long runs.
We're four women juggling the journey of motherhood, teaching personal goals, and a whole lot of caffeine.
Here, we keep it real, the messy, the meaningful, and the moments in between.
So grab your coffee and join us for honest conversations, a few laughs, and a reminder that you're not in this alone. Conference season is here, which means chaos, caffeine, and at least one printer meltdown.
And a whole lot of cold coffee and late night grading sessions we swore we wouldn't do this year.
Yep, it's conference season, survival mode. But today we're talking about what grades don't show, the effort, the growth, and the heart behind every student story.
Because the numbers only tell part of it. The real learning happens beyond the gradebook.
So grab your mug, take a deep breath, and let's espresso ourselves.
All right, so we have had a week break, and it is time for my favorite part of our episode, our weekly catch-up. I know that you guys have had a busy week, busy weekends, really. I know at least my weekend was jam-packed, and I know, Katie, you had a big weekend. So I'll kind of start as we think about our topic this week is all about conferences and grades and how we really truly look at a student. My week was packed with all of my parent-teacher conferences. So I stayed late every night till about 6 o'clock every night holding meetings. That way we had Friday off. I didn't have to schedule any for Friday, which means I just had to work till noon. And if they were all done, I got to leave. So that was super nice. But it was so tough having both of my boys there this year because in the past, I would send Oliver to like a friend's or I would figure something out for him and Hayes was still at the sitter. This year, they were both there. I couldn't really pawn them off on somebody and they couldn't really go to the sitter. I didn't have time to go take them and bring them back. So John did his best to try to get there between 4:30 and 5. And I was lucky enough to have a room that I could go put them in. But girls, the first night of conferences, I was walking out, my parents, and Oliver comes in and he goes, "Mom, I can't find Hayes." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Well, Hayes went to the bathroom and didn't tell him, so we couldn't find him. But also in the meantime, Hayes left the building out our little hallway vestibule because he wanted to feel the breeze because his brother did. Let me just tell you, this was the week of I want to do what my brother does. Because Tuesday, I walked in on Hayes cutting a chunk of his hair off in the office room. Come to find out, his older brother did it first, but let him take the slack for 24 hours and didn't tell us until the next day that he actually cut his. So it's been a week. I'm like, we had a week off for fall break. We come back and my boys, let me tell you, they were a little naughty this week and it was challenging, but we got to celebrate on a good note because Hayes' birthday was this weekend on Saturday and he turned 5 and we had family in town and we got to go trick-or-treating last night because my town that I grew up in did their trick-or-treating early. So we got to go with all the cousins, which is like a huge highlight for my boys. Like the older cousins came and they all got to go. And they had like a little haunted house alleyway. And I'm thinking, oh, it's, just going to be a cute little decoration thing. They legit had like people coming out and scaring you. But the boys went through and made it. So that was Hayes's like one thing he always wanted to do was a haunted house. We're like, best birthday ever. You got to go through a haunted house. And then today we had a little mini tournament for Oliver. It's his first like tourney. It was very small, like 3 teams, but they won both games and he got his first tournament ring. So we ended the week nicely. Just the start of the week was a little rough getting back into routine and having meetings nonstop and just the boys being ornery. So I'm ready for a new fresh week. But then we have Halloween this week. So, I don't know what normal is anymore.
Have you seen those memes that have been going around where it's like a haunted house, and then they have all those different versions like for runners, a haunted house, but
I've
there's
reposted
no,
like 3 of them.
yeah, there's no porta potties on the route, a haunted house, but there's no water stations, a haunted house, but, and it's like they have it for everything.
So my favorite one, and y'all probably saw I reposted it. I said a haunted house, but the influencer brought his camera crew on the marathon route and you're dodging their bikes. And so a really well-known running influencer who I do not like, I do not follow him anymore, showed up to our big marathon about 2 years ago with his filming crew, brought the bikes on the course, messed up some of my friends' race, like they were trying to PR, and he ended up getting banned from our race, Matt Choi. And then he did the same thing at New York City, I think the year before last, and he's now banned from New York City. So I'm just like, this guy's just racking up bans because he wants his footage. But yeah, that I put up a haunted house, but the camera crew crashes your marathon.
Never seen that.
So I will tell you, I'm watching a wave of, I don't even know if I want to say Gen Z, but I think it's Gen Z that they're joining the running space. I saw so many people today getting out their phones and filming their runs or the course, or there were people on the side with like fancy cameras. And I'm like, I like to document my run, but I'm not going to go out of my way. Like, I just wanted to go and enjoy today. And so my phone actually was up the entire time, besides just like changing music on my little speaker. I didn't, but I was telling my husband, I said the vibes were different. We felt like there was newer runners today. Like it wasn't the usual Houston runners I see. I felt like there were a lot of new people and they were all focused on documenting their run and focusing more on the camera. And then a lot of people weren't like talking to each other. Like usually there's like encouragement, like, hey, let's go. And there was a few times I interacted with some people, but you could just tell everyone it felt different. It was weird. I don't know. Like definitely a younger generation's coming up and I'm glad to see it, but it's different in the terms of not encouraging others and being more focused on what kind of footage am I going to get from my social media.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't know if I like this because I like documenting, but not at the expense of others and then not at the expense of not enjoying myself or like, I wasn't trying to PR today or anything. Like that time's nowhere near my PR. I wanted to go out and have fun. And I did, but it was really weird. The groups of people I saw today.
I'm just amazed by like crushing the time that you did. I'm amazed. I'm so amazed. And I want to hear how the actual run was.
It was good. We had this like, I'm gonna call it cool front. I'm gonna put quotes in quotes because it's not a cold front. It's a cool front. So we had really crazy weather yesterday. It was like torrential pouring in the morning and then it went away, the sun came out, and then it was torrential pouring last night. And then this morning we all get up and it was like a slight chill, but not too much. And usually this race is hot and sunny and it actually was comfortable. And so I think a lot of people were able to go out and kind of like push. And so at first I was like, people were like, what do you want to go for? And I'm like, I don't know, 2 hours, I guess. I went in with no expectation, nothing. And I just started going by feel. And I would occasionally glance down at my watch and I'm like, okay. And like sometimes the pace would surprise me. And I'm like, I really went by feel. Like if I was feeling good, I was like, oh, I'll pick it up. Oh, I'm not. Let me pull it back. And my pace was pretty solid the whole time. It was like an 8. The first few were like an 8:40 and then I slowed down to like an 8:53. And so overall it was like a 1:55. So I was pretty happy with that. I was like, "Oh, okay, it is going to be sub 2." And like once I saw that I could do it, I was like, okay, well let me just keep this pace. It hurt a little bit towards the end, but cuz there is a road we go down and it has underpasses. And so you have technically rolling hills and it's an out and back. Like you go out and then you come back. So
Those
you
are
hit
my
those
favorite.
hills like 4 times. And so but I know like I've this is the 9th time I've run this race because they have it every year. And so I knew it was coming and I just kind of told myself in the head, okay, just, tackle the hills, it's fine. And I really haven't focused on hill training, but I've been consistent with strength training and just keeping my mileage like consistent. And I think with just doing that, I did decent. Like I probably could have done better with more hill training, but I think for what I did, did pretty decent. So I felt good. I surprised myself on my time. I honestly didn't think I was gonna get under 2 just because my speed hasn't hit those times, but I was like, "Okay, that's nice to know I can." Because I think for Chevron in January, I'm trying to hit around 4 hours. So I was like, "Okay, if I can do this for 13, I could probably do it for another around the same time for another 13 and get close to that time." But no, it was good. It was fun. A great turnout from the run club. We got a new tent, so that like a new pop-up tent. So it was nice. And then just seeing some other people and then talking to some members who like had not been present this whole season, just because, all the things I've told you about with like the drama and whatnot. And they were like, "Wait, you're really bringing in a lot of new people." And I said, "Yeah, like they want to come join us." I said, "Y'all would like them." And they were like, "Okay, maybe we should come around." And I'm like, I don't know what message is being sent or said about me and what I'm doing. But I was like, look, all I'm doing is growing the run club and bringing in new young faces. I said, that's all I'm doing. And they were like, okay. And so it was just kind of nice to talk to people and be like, she's not like changing things for the worst. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to like foster good things. So it was good, but I'm extremely tired now because I didn't take a nap. Like we came home, we didn't get home till almost 1 o'clock because like I had to take down the tent, take it back to the car. And then y'all probably saw my story that I had to stop and get a cheeseburger from like a
What a
well-known Texas burger place here. It's called Whataburger. If you're ever like in the Texas area, they're incredible. They've started to pop up a little bit more. Like I think they're building their first one in Kansas City. I want to say Alabama's working on getting one. I don't know if they're going to make it to Florida. I can see them going to Florida,
Mhm.
but I don't know if they've made it there yet. But I had to get one of their cheeseburgers. It was so good. But I also was super dehydrated, so the salt was just good.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
But you had a race too.
So I did. One of my friends who I run with on the weekend, she was like, "Hey, at my church, they're doing a 5K. I'm going to go run it. Do you want to?" And I was like, "All right. Yeah, I guess it's better than running by myself." But for the past several weeks, I've been doing 10 miles. And so sometimes mentally, I'm like, 3.1 just doesn't feel right. And I feel like it's not enough. I went and I did the race and I thought, I just see how I do because it's been a little over a year since I've done a 5K race, so I wasn't really sure how to pace myself. And the races around here, I think there may have been like just under 100 people that were doing this. It was just like in a neighborhood. So I set out to do it. It's people of all ages. In Florida, you're going to get a lot of older runners. So most of the runners are going to be 40 years old or above. And that's just the population. Southwest Florida is just how it is. Snowbirds are coming down pretty soon. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to go out there and see what I can do. So in a race, you run faster because you're trying to get ahead and it's an actual time. So I kept a pretty good pace. And as I was going through the course, I didn't know where the church was, but it ended up being in a neighborhood that I used to run in. So I ran past my weekday run partner's old house. And, so I was seeing the route that we were going and I thought, okay, I can do this. I can get a good time. So I ended up finishing with an okay pace. I don't know. It was what it was. It's a 9-minute pace. But then it said that I got third place. And I looked at the time, like it was on a timing chip. And I looked at the time and I was like, that doesn't make sense for me to be third place if it says that I was a second faster than the second place one. So they called me for third place in my age group and I went and got it. But then I checked the results later and it said I was second. I was second out of my age group. So literally by 1 second in the timing chip. So my son, who's going to be 9 this weekend, he's like, "Well, you should have argued it." And I was like, it's really okay. Like I'm not going to go there's no way for me to go back and try to like get a different medal, but it was pretty cool to see that I could push myself in a race that was shorter because my next race is going to be a half in December. And then I think I'm going to do a full in March. So it was fun though. And for us also, it was a little bit of a chillier day, quotes, and it was 70 degrees
Yeah.
and we were running in the shade. So So it felt pretty nice. Not like it did when I ran up north in Illinois last weekend, but it's still, I was thankful for 70 degrees and in the shade, and there was a little breeze. So we almost were cold at the end of the race.
Well, we have finally hit our cold. We were at like 40s and 50s this week, wind chill. We were bundled up at the game today, blankets and sweatshirts. It's been below 50. We are finally feeling the fall weather, but it's fall, but on the verge of winter. Like we skipped over that perfect high 50s, 60s fall weather. We go from like 80s and now we're below 40.
We're getting a front the end of this week that's putting us in the lows that we don't get till typically winter. So the fact that you say that, I think we kind of skipped over it as well, because we're going to have lows, I think like 47 by next weekend. And I'm like,
You're going to have to get out a long sleeve shirt.
I know. I'm like, okay, do I wear like, and it's supposed to be next Saturday when I'm have my next long run. And I'm like, I had to wear like clothes more than just a crop top. What? I don't know. I was like, how do I dress for this again? I don't know.
I'm just looking at our weather. Our low for Friday is 55. That's
See,
also
we just all skipped
not
over fall.
typical. That is not typical.
So we all skipped to our winter temps for
Yeah.
sure.
I'll be happy to run in that though.
Oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
so
we've
excited.
had Halloween where it's snowing, blizzardy. I said my first marathon the night before it was like a blizzard because it was around Halloween. It was about this time, I think November 2nd or something. And yeah, we've had snow on Halloween before.
Yep.
It's
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did that happen was that 7 years ago? We had
probably
snow on
because
Halloween.
my first marathon would have been actually 9 at this point. But yeah,
Because we had snow on Halloween 7 years ago when we were in Chicago, and
yeah.
I thought, this is ridiculous. No, I'm good. Just go a couple blocks. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was going to say, so I did bring the medal to show y'all because I want y'all to see how big it is. And it's like a freaking weapon.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Ooh. So like, here's my face.
My gosh.
And then like, look how thick this thing is.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
but then like the back has a bunch of stuff on it.
Wow.
That's cool.
And then that's our skyline.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then these phrases around
Yeah.
are all big letters like placed in the park along our route. So we
that's
pass
cool.
so there's Buffalo Bayou Park and then there's Memorial Park. And this guy, this artist, he went and put these like phrases in the park 10 years ago. So it's like the 10-year anniversary for the phrases. And then, yeah, I know the guy who designed the medal and he coordinates the race and he was telling me the whole story behind it. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So, but it also like the medal's like a full-on weapon. It's like thick. And I was like, gee, it was really heavy. My friend's daughter, she's 3. She went to go put it on. She's like, Mommy, this is heavy. It was like, it is.
That's
But yeah, no, I
awesome.
was like, I have to show him a Texas size medal. So
That's it. The mums and the medals.
we don't
And
do
the
normal size
tortillas.
anything.
And
in
the
the
tortillas.
That is
Oh
like
my
a
gosh, I have
giant
an update on the
tortilla.
tortillas. I have an update on the tortillas. So they came out earlier this week, like Monday, the athletic director for my university. And he said, in order to protect us from getting more violations and penalties, he is banning all tortilla throwing. So the tortillas got banned as of Monday. And
But
if you
that's a
throw one-
tradition.
I know. And we were like, but our team's really good and they didn't want to risk our team being penalized. Because really, the last time my team's been ranked this high was back in 2010, 2008, like around that time. So I can understand them not like, hey, we actually have a chance at, going to the college football playoffs and having this. And it sucks because
Did
it
you
is a cool tradition.
post something about that? I can't
I
remember.
think I did.
Okay.
Probably
was like,
because I was anything tech at this point. If I get upset about it, I'm just like, I'm going to repost it. But yeah, they banned the tortillas. And I was like, well, no more tortilla throwing. So that's an update for y'all.
it'll just be a good
Have to throw 'em
memory
at
at this
home.
point.
I know. Well, what was it? The Mission Tortilla brand tweeted or put on X or whatever. Everyone's asking how Texas Tech feels. Nobody asked us about us. I was like, that's good. That's
That
good.
is
They
funny.
really were. They were gaining traction with
Mhm.
in Texas.
And their sales were going up. And
Yeah.
now it's like nobody asked us about us. I was like, that is true. So
Now it's just for tacos.
I know.
Becky, how's your costume coming along?
So I got most of the materials, and then I think it won't be so bad to make it. Today I went and got stuff for like the icing of the cupcake. I got the poster boards as like the cupcake liner, and then I need to go get like the tub that is going to go around me. And so I think it should be okay. I just need to get my husband to cut out the bottom of the tub with one of those tools that he's constantly rearranging. And so I think it should be okay. It's a busy week that we have because my younger one is switching from a babysitter to a daycare. So there's just like a lot to do with that, but I'm going to have to make it. I have no choice. So I think I was like, I don't know. I have it in my head. I have it on Pinterest. So I just needed to come to fruition, but I got myself a new glue gun. So it's going to come together, if only for Friday morning for the parade. It'll come together. And then I'll have to send you girls a picture of
Yeah.
what it looks like. And
Yes.
yeah. And then hopefully I'll be able to wear it Friday night when we go trick or treating. So
Yeah.
we will
And
see.
Katie,
But
aren't you
I
supposed to
got
have some sort of costume
song
too?
and dance.
Yeah.
So I asked and I said, okay, y'all, I said, if I'm going to be roped into this, I need to have some time to like mentally prep because we carved pumpkins earlier today with the running store. And as we're driving up, I'm so tired. And I said, okay. He said, I need to like mentally prepare to go in to like participate in this pumpkin carving. And because one of the girls is like, Halloween, yes. And I'm like the Grinch of Halloween of like, I really don't care. It's a pumpkin. And so I asked my coworkers and they were like, well, we haven't heard anything. And I was like, great. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, if we don't have to dress up, if we don't have to dance, I am great by that. Like, we don't have to do none of that. And I was like, you think they're going to want to do something this week? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, just tell them we're busy. Tell them we're busy. I said, we'll go make a little lunch date when they want to have it and we'll go eat out. So they all think we're at a meeting and we don't have to participate. Cause I'm just like, no. I was like, if you can't give me this weekend to prepare or like buy the things, if I have to buy something, I'm not going to do it. No.
It is a lot of
I
work.
think we got out of it.
It is a lot of mental work. If you have to do the song and dance too, yeah. And I even like that stuff, but it still takes a lot of work.
Yeah. So I told my boss, I was like, no, I'm good. She's laughing. And I was like, look, I will do anything else you ask me to do. I will work just as hard or harder. I said, but that song and dance business, that is not me. And she's just laughing. And I was like, it's not at all. I
Do
said,
you have
and
a
she came from elementary world. I was like, junior high world, we didn't do this stuff. And she's like, I can tell.
do you have an office? Okay, like with the door?
Yes.
Okay. So, just next time suggest like a door decorating thing.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
You know what they did though is the booing or whatever with the
well,
baskets.
yeah,
They
I
did that.
got booed. Okay.
And so my neighbor next door, she didn't want to be booed. So I share an office with a lady, and the lady I share an office with, she got booed. She goes, "Hey, give me one of your extra papers." Because they have the boo paper. She
Mhm.
made a copy and hung it on her door so nobody would boo her because she didn't want to participate. She's like, I don't want to participate. And she's like, I'm just gonna hang it on the door and make people think I already got booed. I was like, good idea.
They
So yeah,
should
I
like
mean,
have something that people can put up, like if they don't want to participate in something like that. And then everybody else that
yeah.
does can participate. Like put a
Mhm.
graveyard or something, like
They can
a tombstone. I don't want to play. I'm dead to y'all.
I don't want to play, right? Mm-hmm.
It's just one more thing that's added to our plate of a million things that we already do, right? It's fun. We love having the fun, but let's face it, we have so much that we do. And we're meeting with these parents. And I know, Katie, you'll hit on the fact that upper grades and their conferencing and their meeting with parents looks a little bit different than what the lower elementary grades do. But I cannot begin to list the amount of things that I wish parents knew that we did behind those closed doors. And then you add all of that other stuff. And I think admin sometimes tries to make things fun, but then they kind of forget all the other responsibilities that we do still have. Because sometimes it's just they've been out of the classroom so long that I think they forget. But so I know, Becky, have you had your conferences? You did, right?
Yeah, we had them towards the beginning of the month. And I now have 19 kids in my class, but at the time I had 18. And I got to meet with 17 out of 18 of my parents. Kindergarten parents are very responsive. We have like a communication site, kind of like Class Dojo is, I think, the most popular one. We did have it, but we don't have it anymore. But I send a newsletter every week about what we're going to do for the next week. And not everyone is connected, but I get a lot of immediate responses. But I also talk to parents sometimes on the daily because I don't know how it works in other states, but Florida has a law or a rule, or I don't know what the correct vernacular for it would be, but in our school, in our county, parents can walk their kids to class every single day if they want to in the building. Like, yes, to the classroom. So it might just be a Florida thing. I thought it was weird too. And in 5th grade, I did not have that. I mean, once or twice, if a parent really needed to talk to me, then they would come. But a lot of kindergarten parents walk their kids to class because they don't want them to leave them. They just want to know where their class is. They just, for a myriad of reasons. But I talk to the parents pretty regularly that come. And the parents that I have are really, really nice. So having conferences for me was easy. We have our data, but that's just like some concrete information to give them. But a lot of what I was able to talk about was how they're doing socially, how they're adjusting to all day school. And the parents just want to know that they're making friends. So for me, conferences this year was just to get to know the parents a little bit better because I got to sit down with them for 15 minutes at a time. And it was it was enjoyable. But I'm one of those teachers that it might be like an unpopular opinion. I love conferences because you don't ever get that dedicated time to sit down and have a conversation with the parents face to face. And I used to do a lot of phone conferences, but every single one of mine this year was face to face and I loved it. I loved talking to the parents about what's going to come up and kind of what I'm seeing. And a lot of times because they're so young, the kids are there because they don't have anywhere else for the kids to go. And so for one of my conferences, I was like, your child only knows this amount of uppercase letters. Hey, come on over. Let me do this for me on the computer. And I was able to show the parent exactly what the child does in the classroom. And so it was eye opening for parents. Some of the stuff was eye opening for me, but yeah, I loved conferences. And as a Title I school, we have to have conferences in the fall. And then we have the opportunity to have like a springtime conference if we need it, or if the student is in that bottom quartile. And we need to meet with them because we feel like they need to go to summer school or repeat the grade or whatever.
I like conferences because we, at least in 4th grade, we have our kids come to the conference and they kind of lead the conference. Like we have data binders and they go over them, but we don't just talk about like their scores, but they have to like do a self-reflection on how their work habits are, what their goals are. But it's interesting to watch the kids interact with their parents. So I feel like you learn a lot more about the kids in that 15, 20 minutes, seeing how they engage in front of their families. I have kids that get so nervous, but I also have kids that act silly or goofy or just strange that I'm like, I've never seen this behavior out of them ever in class. Like, this is very odd. Or you see those behaviors from parents and you're like, okay, so some of this makes sense on why X, Y, and Z is happening in the classroom. So I just think you get so much information in that short amount of time about the child and their family and it kind of helps build those connections as you're moving forward. And some of the families, like you said, it's so hard to reach them maybe during the week. You don't always get to build those connections with those families that aren't always as involved. So I always try my hardest too, like you said, to meet with all the families as much as I can. Even if they don't sign up, I'm emailing, I'm messaging, I am calling, saying, hey, let's make this happen because I want to meet with them because usually it's the ones that you want to meet with or you need to meet with that you're tracking down. So I know high school, middle school, sometimes it's not always a priority, but it's funny because when we were on vacation, one of the girls was saying like she felt like it was more important for her to go to her high schoolers conference versus her young kids. And that was like the first time I've heard that. A lot of families usually are like gung ho for the elementary kids because that's such a crucial part of their life on it's the foundations. And then when they're older, I would think, okay, I'm trusting my child. You're old enough. You have that responsibility to go talk to your teacher to get these things figured out. So, and maybe it's different because in the old, correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, but maybe you don't have as much communication with the teachers in the upper grades than you do in lower
So
because you're constantly communicating. And I feel like with elementary teachers through newsletters and
mhm.
whatnot. I don't know.
So there's less communication, there's some more responsibility put in the students' hands. But what I'm seeing with this generation of parents is they are wanting more of a hand in their students' choices and decisions because in high school, they're already looking at that next step. And like I'm witnessing this right now with some former coworkers. My boss has a senior and just kind of listening to them talk about their seniors and getting ready for college. They are so heavily involved in their students, like when they took the SAT or the ACT, when they're applying to scholarships, applying to schools. Like, I think back to like when I was applying to college, and my mom was like, okay, you're doing it. Like if you choose where you want to go, you apply, you fill out the paperwork, you write the essays. But like this group of parents, I have witnessed them having so much more of a hand in those decisions. I don't know why. I honestly, no offense to how anyone's doing it, but I do feel like they're not even learned helplessness, but like there are kids who know, like, my parent's going to be here to like help me write it or help me, submit this application. And I get that, but I do think we're going to see this movement of kids that is going to rely heavily on their parents even after college. And we're going to see that generation come into the workforce. And I think that's definitely going to look different for us here in about 5 years because I'm seeing it now with high school seniors and I'm like even some college kids with their parents. And I don't know, it's hard for me to say cuz I don't have kids yet, but I think being in the education world, if I'm looking from the outside in and seeing this happen, I don't think it's always the best thing. Like, I do think you need to be involved in your kid's life, but don't be writing the essays for them. They need to know, like, my mom made me write all my essays, and you've got to know. I mean, granted, there's Chat GPT and all the AI, everything there to assist nowadays, but I don't know, like, there's a point where you can help your kid and support them, but then there's, like, you've gotta let them learn on their own, and if they gotta make a mistake, then let them make the mistake. So and it's not that way in junior high. It's funny, it's, like, almost like, lots of parent involvement in elementary. Junior high, they step back for a little bit. There's some parents that are a little overbearing, but they step back for junior high, and then high school, you see them kinda start to step back in when they have to choose their classes for high school. But then that senior year, they're just like and I'm like, "Wait, like, they're a senior, like, let them be that young adult." And so that's something I've noticed. Sorry, that was like a really long answer, but that's what I've noticed. I don't know if y'all have seen it.
You mentioned Chat GPT with the essays and everything. So the actually last night we were talking. My husband is a 7th grade civics teacher, but he also teaches a section of 8th grade world. And they have to do something called DBQs.
Yes,
Yeah. So
very
that's
familiar
a
with that.
document based
Mhm.
question.
Yep.
and he's making them write it by hand. And his students are asking, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Listen, I know that if I let you go get a Chromebook, that you're going to use ChatGPT." Then he's like, "I'm going to have to monitor that. And how about you just write it?" "Well, can we do it for homework?" "Well, sure, you can. But right now, I'm giving you time in class to get this done. But if it's for homework, who's helping you? Are mom and dad helping you? Or is ChatGPT helping you? Any other AI helping you? And then am I going to know if it's you writing it or if it's AI writing it?" And that just, I don't know. I think as educators, like, and I don't know and Allison, I'm sure you don't either, what it's going to be like for us as parents when our kids go to middle school and when our kids go to high school. I have no clue. I'd like to think I would based on what we're doing now, but I don't know. Once my kid gets past 5th grade, I don't have a clue what's
So I think I've seen, I'm going to say 3 phases. I'm going to say they go through phases every 3 to 4 years of like types of kids and types of parenting. Because my first few years, the kids were independent. They were doing their own thing, right? Kind of similar to how I was parented. I was like, okay, cool. This is very similar. And then we start going into parents that kind of just went after teachers. And now we're going through a phase where they're not really going after teachers, but they're literally like that parrot on their kid's shoulder of, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's weird. So I feel like you said you don't know. And I really don't think any of us know. I think we're going to have another phase, another few phases come through before your kids hit high school, and we'll see what happens. I think it's like so different.
Yeah, I don't, the thing that worries me about that is it's like our age people who are the parents. And I thought, well, God, you were raised in the 90s. We were outside playing, drinking from hoses, going on our bikes. "See you later, mom. See you later, dad." Like, we were out. We just, bye, I'm going here. And we had no cell phones and we had no way to track where we were. And I was taking public transportation downtown when I was in junior high. And they were like, "Here, I'm going to drop you off at the train. Go into the city of Chicago. Have fun." Now, I mean, the world is different. That is for sure. But I don't know. It worries me. As a parent, it worries me. As a teacher, I don't know. My students as kindergartners know more about how to log into a computer and do all the supplemental programs than they do to sit and learn, when I read a physical book to them.
Yeah, teachers' jobs with technology and AI. I mean, it is scary. Like, I know we can't be replaced, but
I can tell you from an AI perspective and just being in it and like sitting through all the trainings and everything, we're not going anywhere because they see all the flaws with the AI and with the technology. I know we saw those like movies of a futuristic, like, well, there's going to be a hologram like educating us. And it's like, no, I still think we're going to have to be, there may be a phase where people try it, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to see the human interaction face to face is so much more valuable and important, especially for the kids. Because, I mean, heck, look at COVID when they had to learn virtually. We're still seeing the repercussions from it. And maybe here's another thing. You mentioned high school, Allison. 5 years ago, those kids were in junior high when they went through COVID, and now they're all graduating. So I think that may have something to do with it too, on their parents being so involved
Mm.
because they missed a lot of that pivotal foundation from junior high of like the writing and the reading strategies and the math strategies that like their parents had to teach them from home. And now we're seeing them try to go off into the real world. So that could be something too. I'm
yeah.
sure there's like studies out there on it too.
And if there aren't now, I'm sure there are, because I was telling my husband today how like a case study could be done on one of my students who has never ever ever been at school before. And so she hasn't had the exposure, and her parents and her family and her extended family who was watching her just never exposed her to the alphabet. She cannot sing the alphabet correctly. Like, but why not?
So we had this student. He moved here last year And so he's still at my old school, but he had not been in a physical classroom or around other students since 2019. He was homeschooled, and it wasn't homeschooled. So watching the social interactions, and he was a seventh grader at the time. So now he's an eighth grader. The gaps, he even told us when he first got to the school, he's like, I feel more comfortable around you and other adults. And I was like, okay, that's scary that he missed like, I think he's 13. So minus 5 years from 8 to 13, no interaction with other kids. You were homeschooled and you lived in a foreign country. Like, it's like, I don't think people realize, like, you have to have that interaction with other humans and humans your own age, like, not just in general. I mean, he interacted with adults left and right, but he didn't know how to be a kid,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
It's finding that good balance because I had a student last year who had been homeschooled up until last year, and it showed. Did not know how to engage with other students appropriately, could not handle the workload, would yell and scream at me. This is unfair. I'm basically like, I'm in jail. You're treating me like this. I don't get paid for like, he could not understand the real world. It was his way or no way. I'm like, buddy, this is what it's like. It got to the point where the classmates were even like, hey, she just asked you to push in your chair. That would set him off. And he's going to be in middle school next year. He's already had tons of episodes this year, but you want them to engage with other peers because that's huge. But also, there's a lot to be said with your engagement with your parents and how much those parents are engaging with their children. Like I was telling a family this week, you can tell he comes from a really rich household with vocabulary and books. They didn't want to take credit for it. They were like, well, ever since he was little, like he would get on and watch these YouTube videos and he was always wanting to know, and they're all educational. I'm like, that might be true, but there is still something to be said about how you're raising him and how you're interacting with him for that level of maturity and depth of knowledge. Like you can tell how much parents are involved based on how that child acts. And I think that's just as huge and just as important as their interaction with peers, for sure.
My mom was a teacher. Pre-K through third grade was her certification. And she worked at the same school for all 34 years of her career. In fact, this is interesting. At the time when she got her job, she never interviewed. They just placed teachers into schools. And she was like, I'm placed here. And her generation just stayed. And it was not a good neighborhood at all. Like desks nailed to the floor because these kids would pick them up and throw it. But anyhow, that's in the city of Chicago. But anyhow, she did have a bunch of nice families kind of along the way. And she said when they were on a field trip one time, there was a mom who was sitting next to her daughter, and everywhere that they went down the street, and there's a lot to see in Chicago, it's like, oh, did you notice that brick building? And did you notice the words on that sign? And did you, and I was like genius, but also you're talking to your kid. And it shows how they interact with others. It shows how they problem solve. It shows their capability to stay calm. And I think whatever grade the kids are in right now, when 5 years ago, when it was COVID, and I think people are tired of talking about this, but it's still true. You can tell what they've missed and when they've missed it. So, like our fifth graders now were in COVID during kindergarten and they missed that formative year. Even a social interaction is one thing, but we do a lot of crafts. And so the dexterity of their fingers, those fine motor skills of cutting, of pasting, of the handwriting that we do. Like I teach handwriting every single day. And I can't remember who I was talking to. Well, my husband, he said that these kids, so they were even in second grade, most of his students were in second grade during COVID, their handwriting is awful.
Terrible. Yeah.
Awful. Not
Like,
create
yeah.
like not creating those letters correctly.
No. And then they're really big and they're really close together. And yeah, because I was starting to see it last year in like our sixth and seventh graders, and now like they're seventh and eighth graders. And even I'm heard about the sixth graders coming in that the handwriting is just, it's not there. It's
How
really
much of
lacking.
it do you think? Because I talked with parents about this at conferences, that because I'm still seeing it with my fourth graders who wouldn't have been in school during COVID yet.
Hmm.
But we push technology so much that it's
Yes.
like, okay, they don't have to write as much anymore because they're on iPads or computers. And it's finding that balance because they need to know how to do this technology stuff because that's what the world's coming to. But also, they need to know how to write. And we don't have to teach cursive anymore. Like upper elementary, we don't work
Same.
on handwriting. I don't know if other states, if that's a requirement or if you guys still do, but we don't work on handwriting. So that's out the window. If they're writing in fourth grade and you can't even read it, half the time those kids can't even read their own writing. I'm like, buddy, if you can't read this, nobody else can read it. You have
Nobody
zero
can.
spaces between your words. This letter is written like you just rushed through. It just doesn't even look like a letter. Oh, and it's so hard. And they just want to
Well,
rush through things.
I think it goes back to Becky's like the fine motors. So like think about when we were kids. Did y'all ever do like those little craft things where you would get like the little spiky board and you would put the little beads and
Yeah,
then
the
you'd iron
perler
it
beads.
on?
Yeah.
Yes. Or like you would do like my grandmother was really big on this. Like she wanted me to learn to sew different types of things. And so I learned how to sew things and it was like fine point like prints that I would, sew the thread into to, make a flower or whatever it was. Our kids now don't do any of that. And so now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't see many kids. All they're doing is texting. That's not fine motor skills.
Because the
No,
thumbs,
they're not stitching, the fine point needling, the crocheting.
they don't even tie
No,
their
no.
shoes anymore. And I am guilty of that
No.
because my second grader has yet to learn to tie his shoes. And that's on me because all the shoes nowadays are just plop them on and make it easy to get on. And that is me as a parent. That's a parent fail right there because I keep saying we need to work on it and we haven't.
Y'all know this crazy weird thing about the running store? So there's this thing called a lock lace where you can like adjust it
Yes.
and it's like this little plastic piece that ties it. The amount of adults that are buying lock laces. So it's not even the kids.
Yeah.
It's the adults too. And I'm like, just tie your shoe. So I think it's just laziness across the board. So even these adults who are supposed to be teaching their kids how to tie a shoe or, hey, don't forget to tie your shoes, they're putting lock laces on all their shoes. So it's just a string. We're done.
Hey, my kid does not have a lock lace. He
No.
just doesn't have shoes with laces.
It is hard to find shoes like below a certain size that have tie laces that are not just
Yeah, no,
slip-on.
I
It's
get that.
really hard.
Because now we're seeing all the things being sold in the store, and that's just one thing that's amazing me is like that you're an adult, you know how to tie a shoe, and they do the lock lace.
Was in kindergarten, my teacher she had a wooden shoe where that's where we learned how to tie our shoes. I said, "I need to
I
go get
remember
one of
that.
those because"
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. But
Like those
again, like
boards that you would.
mhm,
Yeah, fine
yeah.
motor skills.
Yeah. So we're doing, well, this year I'm doing everything, but we're doing all the crafts. You're always cutting, you're always gluing, you're always writing. Like we have to do some computer stuff, but we're going to be painting pumpkins this week. We're going to be cutting out strips of paper and making pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns or whatever, but we have to do all that stuff. And when Thanksgiving comes around, we're going to disguise a turkey. Well, they have to cut out the paper to do that, and
Do
we're
we
gonna be doing like a but
weave some
yeah,
placemat?
the weaving would be
Yes.
perfect, done. We will weave the placemats, and then I will laminate them, and then they'll keep them forever because my mother-in-law still has all of that stuff from when my husband went
I
through
have my
school.
sons.
Yeah, so I think that's the moral of the story. Even though we were talking about conferences.
Just like
It's things we wish the parents knew.
That is true. It's It's interesting because when you're outside of education, and we don't realize this because we've always been in school, there's never been a time where we haven't been. Parents don't understand what goes on in school. They don't have a clue. And how could you? It's changing all the time. So I think that's also another reason why I love communicating with parents and having them read the newsletter and understanding why we're doing the stuff that we're doing, and and how much we're doing too. Just how much on the daily that we're doing. That even boggles my mind.
As we wrap up, here's what teachers wish parents knew. Learning is so much more than what happens on paper.
It's built through patience, confidence, and those quiet moments when a child finally believes in themselves.
So here's to the parents who trust the process and the teachers who pour their hearts into it every day. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Thanks for sipping and sharing a moment with us today. We can't wait to keep showing up with you each week. Messy, caffeinated, and real.
And if you liked what you heard, we'd be so grateful if you'd follow, subscribe, or share this with your teacher, bestie, mom group chat, or training partner, or all three. It helps more people find our little corner of chaos and connection.
And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Espresso Yourself Podcast. Tell us what resonated, share your own stories, what topics you want us to cover, or just come say hi.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode.
Until next time,
Keep showing up.
Keep giving yourself grace.
And espresso yourself.
one sip at a time.
Cheers.